We're starting. Oh, no. The webinar start.
Good morning and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Subcommittee on Landmarks, Public Sightings, and Dispositions. At this time, we ask that you silence all electronic devices, and at no time is anyone to approach the dais. If you have any questions during the hearing, please see the Sergeant-at-Arms. Chair, we're ready to begin.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of Subcommittee on Landmarks, Public Sightings, and Dispositions. I am Councilmember Camila Hanks, and I am Chair of the Subcommittee. Today I am joined by my colleague, Councilmember Salam. And before we begin today's agenda, I will remind everyone that this meeting is being held in a hybrid format. For members of the public who wish to testify remotely, we ask that you first register online, and you may do so now by visiting www.council.nyc.gov/land use to sign up, and then sign into the Zoom and remain signed on until you have testified. For anyone with us today in person who wish to testify, if you have not already done so, please see one of our Sergeant-at-Arms to fill out a speaker's card, and we will call your name at the appropriate time. For anyone wishing to submit written testimony on the items being heard today, we ask that you please send it via email to landuse.testimony@council.nyc.gov. Include the land use number and/or the project name in the subject line of your email. Video and audio testimony will not be accepted. I'll remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent unless and until called to testify. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the sergeant for inclusion on the hearing record. On today's agenda, we have Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Plaza, a pre-considered application by the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development in support of a development in Councilmember Salam's district in Manhattan. LUS number 129, the Landmarks Preservation Commission's proposed designation of the Temple Court, now Beekman Hotel Atrium in Councilmember Marte's district in Manhattan as a historic landmark. Land use number 108 in Landmarks Preservation Commission's proposed designation of the Herscher Building, now the Crown Building in Councilmember Powers district in Manhattan and historic landmark. And land use 131, the Landmarks Preservation Commission's proposed designation of Frederick Douglass Memorial Park in Councilmember Carr's district in Staten Island as a historic landmark. Now I will open the public hearing for a pre-considered land use item for an application by the New York City Department of Preservation and Development seeking designation of an urban development action area, approval of an urban development action area project, and the disposition of several city-owned lots in Central Harlem, known as the Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Plaza. Approval of the proposed actions will facilitate the construction of two new 9-story mixed-use towers containing affordable housing units through HPD Extremely Low and Low Income Affordability Program, ELA, and the new community facility space intended for the existing incubator African Vendors Market. Appearing today on this proposal is Melissa Anton for HPD, Peter Presota from Presota Development, Tariq Shahid Mahad, Malcolm Shabazz Development Corporation. And is that it? Yes. Those who wish to testify remotely, again, must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. Council, would you please administer the affirmation? Before you begin, I just wanted to recognize Councilmember Marte has joined us as well.
Thank you. Panelists, would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Melissa Otten.
Peter Procida.
Tariq Shahid.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but your truth in your testimony before this subcommittee, and in answer to all council member questions?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. You may begin.
Great, thank you. I believe there's a presentation. All right, thank you. Thanks, Peter. Good morning, Chair Hanks and council members. I am Melissa Otten, Director of Manhattan Planning at HPD, and I am excited to be here presenting to you the Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Plaza project, an affordable housing project that will result in the construction of a new 9-story building containing approximately 109 affordable housing units. The proposed development will also include ground floor community facility space for a new and improved Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Market. I am joined here today by my HPD colleagues and our development partners who will introduce themselves in the presentation or during the Q&A as needed. Next slide, please. Thank you. As part of the ULURP application, which started with the certification of this project on April 15th, 2024, we are excited to be here today presenting the Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Plaza application, which will bring much needed affordable housing and improve ground floor community facility space to the Harlem neighborhood. The Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Plaza project is located at 52 West 116th Street on 4 city-owned lots located on Block 1599 in Manhattan Community Board 10. Next slide, please. To facilitate the project, HPD is proposing the following land use action, a UDAP designation and UDAP approval, and the disposition of the development site. Next slide. So here is an overhead view of the, for more context, of the location. And at this time, I will turn the presentation over to Peter Procida, a representative of the development team who will provide further details on the proposed project.
Hello, council members. My name is Peter Procida. I'm with Procida Construction and Procida Development Group. Procida is a fourth-generation family-owned business that's been located in the Bronx since the mid-1970s, focused on the creation of affordable housing in all across the city. We're here with our partners at Malcolm Shabazz Development Corp. We've been working on this site in conjunction with HPD since about 2016. We're excited to bring this before you here today. As you can see in the slide above, the Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Market occupies the site in question and is located between Malcolm X and 5th and is a through-block site between 115th and 116th. Next slide, please. Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Plaza is a one-building, two-tower, 9-story development, which is 100% affordable housing under the HPD ELA program, which will provide units, 108 affordable units, 1 unit for live-in super, and we'll have a shared second-story terrace for the outdoor recreation of the residents. Each building will include its own bike room, laundry room, and community room, and distinct lobbies on 115th and or 116th. The cornerstone of this development is the refresh of the Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Market. All of the vendors will be temporarily relocated when we start construction. And they will be brought back once construction is complete. And I will note that this is a very environmentally and sustainable project, which has been awarded a Building of Excellence Award from NYSERDA as of a few months ago. Next slide, please. Here you can see the site plan, where you see the 2 towers, which are approximately equal in size. And the shared second-story terrace, which is for the use of the residents only. Next slide, please. Here's our proposed breakdown of AMIs. I will point out that we are exceeding HPD minimums of 2 and 3 bedrooms, as we believe it is important to target family-sized units when we're developing housing across the city. The AMIs range from formerly homeless households up to 80% and are split, as you can see on the slide. Next slide, please. As you guys are all well aware, City of Yes is pending. If and when City of Yes comes through and passes, we will be adding a 10th floor to each tower. That will result in a total of 123 units, which is a 14-unit increase. The splits based on AMI and unit sizing are approximately the same and are shown on this slide. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, the refresh of the Harlem market is the key to this site. The incubator program has been up and running since 1994. Tariq has been running that program since its inception. At the time of its inception, there were over 1,000 vendors on 125th Street, and MSDC worked with the Giuliani administration to bring those vendors onto a private site and alleviate the issue that was occurring between the vendors and the brick and mortar retailers. And since its inception, the program has been nothing but a success, launching over 40 brick and mortar businesses into the community and across the city. Next slide, please. The existing market is a cultural and economic staple that specializes in colorful and international items. Currently, there are 57 booths, which are occupied by 47 vendors. The vendors are subject to outdoor conditions and sales slump during the winter. By bringing the building or the market indoors, we feel that it will increase the year-round viability for the vendors and help their businesses stand on stronger footing as we move forward. The rehabilitated market will have 60 stalls, which will include the 48 stalls for the dry good vendors, as well as some stalls for food vendors, so that the incubator program can be expanded to food-based entrepreneurs who are looking to start their business. We also believe that the food-based businesses will help increase length of stay at the market and hopefully help boost sales for the vendors. Next slide, please. And here is an artistic rendering of what we think the finished product will look like, and we'll open it up for any questions from the council members. Tariq is just he's here for questions.
Yeah, I'm just here to answer any questions regarding it.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I can make a great presentation, but I just want to answer questions.
Oh, no problem. I just wanted to give you that opportunity before I decided to. So thank you so much for coming. I do have a few questions, and then we'll be followed by Councilmember Salam, who will have some questions. Can you please explain the resiliency measures, environmentally friendly components embedded in this building design and site plan? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yes. The building's designed to Passive House standards. It will include solar power on both of the roofs. We're doing some rainwater harvesting in conjunction with DEP and adhering to the SWIP to alleviate impacts to the stormwater systems in the street. And we are using high efficiency PTHPs for heating and cooling of the units, as well as all electric throughout, other than a emergency generator, which will be gas fired.
Just for the record, PTH acronyms, we have a lot.
Yes, I know. Packaged terminal heat pump.
Got it. Thank you. So in terms of the site plan and design, how does the residential space interact with the new vendor plaza? And likewise, what is the separation between these two spaces?
Yeah, for lack of a better term, we have separated church and state. The lobbies on 115th and 116th are independent of one another. And the residents will have access to their building or their tower and not to one another's tower to, focus in on the community, so that you have, 50 neighbors instead of 100 neighbors who are the people that you're dealing with. The market will have its own separate and distinct entry. There is no shared space in between the residential. There are shared utility rooms and stuff, but that is only for building management, and the residents will not have access to those.
Thank you for your clarity. Now I'd like to recognize Councilmember Salam, who will also have questions. Councilmember?
Thank you. Definitely appreciate the presentation. And I'm inspired by the opportunity to have something really nice presented in that space. The community is excited about the fact that this project will create more opportunity for local vendors in addition to the existing plaza vendors utilizing the site. Some members have raised concern, however, about increased price for the vendors to participate. Can you please speak to the price for the vendors, or can you please speak to the pricing for the vendors to utilize this space and how open spaces will be advertised going forward?
First of all, it's important to understand with regard to the increase. First of all, there's only been 2 increases for the entire 30 years that I've been managing the building. And I think people they pay $20 a day at present for their spaces right now. So so of course we're going to have a new space, new everything, and so of course there has to be some increase. However, when you're talking $20 a day for a business, if you're in business and you're not doing more than $20 a day, then maybe you should consider another business, in my opinion. But here's what happened. We've kept this to a very nominal fee, and we've been able to run this market. And a lot of it based on the fact that we had a lot of tourism, a lot of people coming in. We're excited also about the future because now, remember, we lose about 5-6 months just based on winter time. And we're members of the New York City Tourism. We've been members for the last 25 years. And so, which annually, every year, they sponsor a big program where they bring in people who are part of the tourism companies all over the world. And we get a chance to meet with them and promote our product, promote our market to them, let them know. So and usually they don't come during the wintertime. Now that people being closed, they'll be able to come. So we'll be able to have far many more people coming to the market, and we've done a great job in the summertime. However, when the wintertime comes, one of the things I always tease that when people ask, can I get a space in the market? I always say, not in the summertime. No one ever moves in the summertime. We've never had anybody leave the market in the summertime. So the fees that we're offering, remember, these are membership fees. This is an incubator program, the brainchild of our Imam Pasha. The idea was to go from dust, that which is unformed, to industry. And we've been able to do that in a very small way. Certainly, we think it's great because we measure greatness not from where we are, but from how far we've come. And we know we have a long way to go. But they said 40 businesses. I know at least 75 of them. I know many of them moved to the Bronx who got their start in the market. And we started this market. It used to be $6 a day. Then we raised it to $20. $20. So we know that we've been very fair. Our concern has always been the market itself. That's who we are. The market, the Malcolm Shabazz Harlem market, has been who we are. And we look forward to that. We don't think the increase will affect them in their businesses much. As you know, but any vendor, anybody in business, when you say there's an increase, they say, oh, no. But we're sensitive to their needs and the fact that the people are in the community, and this is the way they make their living. So we'll be very sensitive to that.
Gotcha. Will the vendors have leases, and how does the incubator program operate?
Okay, good. I'm so glad you asked that question. No, they will not have leases. We don't deal in leases. I'll tell you why. And number one, this is an incubator program, and they have a membership, and this membership is pursuant to, they have what we call a fee agreement. Just as if you go to the Y. Just if you go to a hotel, you check in. If you don't pay your bill, they lock the door. We do the same thing this way. We avoid going back and forth to court in a situation where we're still covering expenses and people are not paying their fee. So, and it's an incubator program. Our design is to help people get to the point where they can be independent and move out on their own to be in business. That's the ultimate objective. So no, we won't have. We'll do the same thing we have. We have fee agreements. And they're weekly fee agreements, and you pay 7 days. You pay for 7 days. For example, if you go, if you're paying $140 for a week, then at the end of the week, if you pay your rent, if you don't pay your fee, then of course we lock the door. And then, just so you know this, we have never had anybody put out because they couldn't pay the rent, ever. We've only had 2 people taken out of the market in 30 years, and that was for fighting, which we don't allow. So and only 2 people in 30 years have been put out of the market. We've had people leave, not pay their rent, they come back, we take them back. This is our community. We're trying to build, trying to develop people. We know that so if some people come in, they have products that won't sell. So what do? We tell them, okay, why don't you change products? But the market started off in a grand way by, number one, giving this brainchild of Imam Pasha is great. Number one, we used to give English as a second language. We would get inventory classes, tax, how do you do your taxes, how to prepare, how to market your business, how to sell in our market. So it's been an amazing situation. So we feel really confident in terms of the market and its new development, and we're in a new not a new location, but a new spirit in that location.
I'm assuming that because of the previous, as this is going forward, the previous iteration will be open space. The new one is going to be closed space and so forth and so on. Is there anybody, are the individual participants responsible for maintaining their space, the cleanliness and all of that stuff?
Well, yeah, individually, but of course we have maintenance. At the market right now, we have 4 maintenance shifts at this point. We have from 8 to 4. We have from 4 to 8, we have from 8 to 12, and we have from 12 to 8. Market's being maintained all day, all time. And because you remember, we get so many people, people that have garbage, you have things you have to throw out. Then we have people for unexpected spills, things that happen that you don't foresee. But we don't see a problem. Everybody's supposed to take care of their own little space, but outside of that, then we'll be taking care of the market.
Gotcha. Just a few more. You mentioned that the passing of the City of Yes zoning for housing opportunity would affect this project by allowing another story. Sorry about that. Another story to the 2-tower building. Does your team have a projected unit mix for this additional potential floor?
Yes, that is on. Oh, sorry. What slide is this?
Yeah, it's in the presentation.
And as you look for that too, I just wanted to know as well, will the approval or the disapproval of the City of Yes zoning for housing opportunity affect this project's timeline and financial planning in any significant manner?
Go ahead.
Good question.
At the moment, we are working through HPD's pipeline. We do not know if and when we know we will close, but we don't know when. That's a question that HPD will have to answer. We are still in the approval stage as it relates to DOB. We anticipate filing our plans towards the end of this year, and we're preparing to do that. And assuming that City of Yes passes in October, November, which has kind of been the timeline that we've heard, it will not impact our approvals timeline. How it relates to the closing is a question that HPD would have to answer.
Gotcha.
And then that's the impact based on City of Yes. So the current proposal is the 109 units, and if City of Yes passes, we bump up to 123. So the percentages of studios 1s, 2s, and 3s remain proportionally the same, and the AMI mix would also remain proportionally the same.
I guess the final question in terms of these folks that are there being able to kind of, I guess, still participate in business. During the time of construction, where do you plan to move the vendors who are currently running their businesses on these sites? Do you have any monetary incentives to provide them to temporarily relocate their businesses? And if so, have you incorporated these costs into your construction estimates?
Yeah, so the cost to relocate both away from and back to the market are incorporated into our budget. The bulk of the vendors are going to relocate to a vacant site. It's, I think, 3 lots to the west of the current site, so it's on the same block. There's about 11 or 12 vendors that we will need to relocate to a storefront. We are, again, working on the timing of when we're going to close. Right now, there's, last I counted, which was a couple weeks ago, 5 or 6 vacant storefronts on that block that we intend to reach out to the landlords and try and secure a short-term lease. But until we're a little clearer from HPD as to when we're going to close, it doesn't make sense for us to engage with a private landlord and secure that space and start, paying rent, and if we're not going to close for, 6, 12 months or whatever that might be. But again, the cost to build out both the temporary outdoor market and the temporary retail space, moving costs for the vendors both to and from the site are included within our budget.
Councilman, it's also important to know that there's 36 vendors and 11 tailors. So there's 36 regular vendors, dry good vendors, and 11 tailors. Those tailors, the space is so small, that's why we're looking to put them in another location. Their business is not based on traffic that comes from out of the country or out of the state. They're home base. The people in the neighborhood know them. They get their things made, tailor-made from them. So it doesn't affect them to the degree that would affect the people who are essentially the dry goods.
Understood. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The applicant panel is now excused.
Thank you.
That's fine. Just to ask, are there any members of the public who wish to?
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on this item?
Nobody here would like to testify, is that correct? Chair, there are no members of the public who wish to testify.
Okay, thank you. Being that there are no other members of the public who wish to testify regarding the preconsidered L-use Malcolm Shabazz Harlem Plaza, the hearing is now closed. Now I'll open the public hearing for Land Use 129, the proposed designation by the Landmarks Preservation Commission of the Temple Court, now Beekman Hotel Atrium in Councilmember Powers District in Manhattan as a historic landmark. Appearing today on this proposal is Timothy Fry, Landmarks Preservation Commission, and Lisa Kovacic, Landmarks Preservation Commission. Those wishing to testify remotely must register online and visit the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. Before the council would administer the affirmation, I would like to recognize Councilmember Felice has joined us. And council, would you please administer the affirmation?
Panelists, would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record? Turn on your microphone.
Timothy Fry.
And, oh, sorry.
Lisa Korsavage.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but your truth in the testimony before this subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. You can begin.
All right. Good morning, Chair Hanks and members of the subcommittee. I'm Timothy Fry, Director of Special Projects and Strategic Planning at the Landmarks Preservation Commission, and I'm joined by our Executive Director, Lisa Korsavage. Thank you for the opportunity to present 3 of our recent designations. The Temple Court Building Atrium, which now operates in the Beekman Hotel, the Heckscher Building, now known as the Crown Building, and Frederick Douglass Memorial Park. So we'll start with the Temple Court Building Atrium. The Temple Court Building Atrium, next slide, is located in the Beekman Hotel and is a beautiful 9-story interior skylit atrium and an early and rare surviving 19th century office building interior. After years of being closed off and inaccessible to the public, it was carefully rehabilitated in 2016, becoming the centerpiece of the Beekman Hotel. The combination of carefully restored historic elements and finely crafted plaster and millwork based on surviving examples have returned this historic space to its former glory. LPC's designated interior landmarks are very special spaces that must be customarily open to the public or accessible to the public, and the Commission has designated only 123 interior landmarks throughout its history. Next slide. The designated atrium is a main feature of the previously designated Temple Court Building and Annex, which was designed in 2 phases between 1881 and 1890 by Silliman and Farnsworth, with the later annex designed by just Farnsworth. It is the earliest surviving fireproof tall office building erected in New York City as the city recovered from the financial panic of 1873. Next slide. Located at the center of the original portion of the Temple Court building, the atrium includes 8 tiers of galleries surrounded by arched door and window openings, encaustic floor tiling, decorative brackets, and a cast iron skylight. The galleries from the 3rd through the 9th floors are historic and feature ornamental cast iron balustrades, heavy newel posts, and decorative brackets. Capping the atrium, a historic skylight features decorative cutwork and delicate filigree in the upper and lower monitors. During the 2016 restoration, the 2nd floor gallery was partially rebuilt using glass blocks set in concrete to recall the roofs of the stores that used to occupy the atrium's ground floor. At the same time, the ground floor, which is now fully open, was converted to the hotel's bar and lounge. Next slide. To preserve the open atrium, an innovative fire safety system was designed and implemented specifically for the Beekman Hotel. It features discrete sprinklers, smoke curtains, and glass panels, which are integrated into the atrium's historic structure. To safely minimize the spread of smoke, fire-rated curtains drop from each gallery floor from a hidden panel, which you can see here on the image on the right. And the transparent glass panels at the corners help seal the gaps between the curtains. Next slide. The designated interior landmark site consists of solely the volume defined by the atrium galleries, from the 1st floor up to and including the skylight, the galleries, the surrounding walls, the decorative features facing into the atrium, the east and west hallways connecting the atrium to the annex at the 2nd through the 8th floors, and the historic cast iron staircase from the 1st through the 9th story. Next slide. The Temple Court building's atrium is a unique surviving 19th century commercial atrium that has been sensitively rehabilitated as the incredible centerpiece of the Beekman Hotel, with its historic elements lovingly restored and, where necessary, reproduced to recreate the space's historic ambiance. So thank you for letting us present the Temple Court building atrium. And now we'll move on to the Heckscher building. Oh, sure. Okay.
Councilmember Martin has questions?
Yeah, thank you for being here. I just wanted to say a quick statement. I'm excited to support the landmarking of the atrium of the Temple Court building in the financial district. Now the Beekman Hotel, this storied structure has been an iconic landmark of Lower Manhattan for over 140 years. While we already recognize the historic and architectural significance of its facade, it's time we honor the building's beautiful atrium, stretching from the lobby to the skylight, and restored through meticulous craftsmanship and innovative engineering. Many of the city's most impressive interiors have since been lost through neglect, damage, or demolition. Because of the unwavering commitment of Eric Bass and GFI Development, as well as with the help of LPC to the atrium's restoration, and at no small sacrifice on their part, financially or time-wise, we can continue to admire this beautiful and thoughtful work of design for decades to come. So I want to thank the team, and my team is fully supportive of it. Thank you.
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on this item?
No, there are not.
Chair, there are no other members of the public who wish to testify on LUs 129 for landmarking of Temple Court, now the Beekman Hotel atrium. The public hearing is now closed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing for Land Use 108, the proposed designation by Landmarks Preservation Commission of the Heckscher Building, now the Crown Building in Councilmember Powers' district in Manhattan, as a historic landmark. Appearing today, who's still here, Timothy Fry, Landmarks Preservation Commission, and Lisa Kersavage, Landmarks Preservation Commission. Again, those who testify must register online at the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. Council, can you please administer the affirmation?
Panelists, would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Timothy Fry.
Lisa Kersavage.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions?
I do.
I do.
You may begin.
All right. Again, good morning, Chair Hanks. The Temple Court building, thank you, or excuse me, located at the southwest corner of 5th Avenue and 57th Street, the Heckscher Building, now called the Crown Building at 730 5th Avenue, is one of 5th Avenue's most visible and striking skyscrapers. Topped by an ornate octagonal tower with a pyramidal roof, the iconic skyscraper was designed by the firm of Warren and Wetmore. At the public hearing on April 9th of this year, 3 people testified in support of designation, including a representative of one of the owners, as well as the Historic Districts Council and the New York Landmarks Conservancy. Manhattan CB5 also sent a letter expressing support. Next slide. The Heckscher Building was commissioned by Anima Realty Corporation, a syndicate financed by developer August Heckscher, builder George Backer, and Charles D. Wetmore, a partner in the architectural firm of Warren and Wetmore. Construction began in 1920 and was completed in 1922. Designed in the French Renaissance style, the Heckscher Building was intended to complement surrounding architecture, such as the Vanderbilt Mansion, which originally stood directly across the street. It was one of the first skyscrapers to conform to New York City's 1916 zoning resolution, which required that tall buildings reduce their mass as they rise. With multiple setbacks starting at the 13th floor, its design demonstrates how a leading Beaux-Arts architecture firm interpreted this new law and its impact on the emerging Fifth Avenue shopping district. Next slide. The building's exterior is faced with limestone and cream-colored terracotta and displays notable classical features such as spiraling columns, figurative sculptures, and rows of decorative spandrel panels. As seen on the image on the right, the pyramidal roof incorporates a large dormer and bullseye windows on each of its sides, as well as an elaborate multi-story chimney stack and crown-like finial. Next slide. Originally intended for stores, showrooms, and offices, 730 Fifth Avenue was one of the first tall commercial buildings in this section of Midtown. Anticipating the redevelopment of the area in the 1920s, in 1983 it was renamed the Crown Building, and at that time many of the architectural features were gilded gold and the facades illuminated through an architectural lighting program. It was converted to a hotel and residences in 2022, and it remains a notable landmark dominating this intersection. Next slide. The Heckscher Building tax lot also incorporates an annex on West 56th Street. As seen on this slide, it was not considered part of the proposed designation, which is outlined in red. Next slide. At the public hearing, the owner of the retail spaces supported the designation and noted the need for future flexibility for tenant storefront designs. The designation does note that since its completion in 1922, building owners have made multiple changes to the commercial storefronts, and the current storefront infill is also non-historic. LPC recognizes the history of storefront changes here and in keeping with the evolving character of the street, and we support flexibility to accommodate these future needs. Next slide. So completed in 1922, the Heckscher Building, now called the Crown Building, is a significant early skyscraper designed by Warren and Wetmore and an important part of the Midtown Manhattan skyline. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I do have a statement here that I will read on behalf of Councilmember Keith Powers. And this is his statement. I am proud to support the historic landmark designation of the Heckscher Building, now the Crown Building. The building was completed in 1922 and is one of the earliest surviving skyscrapers that conformed to the 1916 Building Zone Resolution. Previous tenants of the building included Universal Pictures, art organization Société Anonyme, I don't know, publisher, French, publisher A, NOF, and the Museum of Modern Art. Renamed the Crown Building in 1982, it currently houses a luxury hotel and residences, and I hope my colleagues will join me in supporting this designation. So if there are any remote public participants who would like to testify that not have already done so, please press the raised hand button now. And if you are here with us in person, you can see one of the Sergeant-at-Arms to fill out a speaker card. Council, is there anyone wishing to testify?
No.
There being no members of the public who wish to testify on Land Use I-80 for the landmarking of the Heckscher Building, now the Crown Building, the public hearing is now closed. And now I'll open the public hearing for LU's 131 proposed designation by the Landmarks Preservation Commission of the Frederick Douglass Memorial Park in Councilmember Carr's district in Staten Island, a historic landmark. Again, appearing today on this proposal is Timothy Fry, Landmarks Preservation Commission, and Lisa Kersavage, Landmarks Preservation Commission. Those who wishing to testify remotely must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. Council, will you please administer the affirmation?
Panelists, would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Timothy Fry.
Lisa Kersavage.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before the subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
So good morning again, Councilmember Hanks. And finally, we are presenting to you the Frederick Douglass Memorial Park at 3201 Amboy Road. It is the only extant non-sectarian cemetery in New York City that was founded by and for African Americans at a time when discrimination and segregation excluded them from other cemeteries. At the public hearing on May 21st of this year, the Commission received support for the proposed designation from 5 speakers, including 2 board representatives of the owner, Councilmember Camilla Hanks, chair of this subcommittee, the New York Landmarks Conservancy, and the Historic Districts Council. No one spoke in opposition, and the Commission also received 8 letters, including a joint letter signed by the 3 council members from Staten Island, Chair Hanks, Councilmember Carr, and Councilmember Borelli. Next slide. The individual landmark is a 14.88 acre lot in the Oakwood Heights neighborhood of Staten Island. It is adjacent to contemporary housing tracts and just north of Ocean View Cemetery. Next slide. The Frederick Douglass Memorial Park was founded by Rodney Dade, a Harlem funeral director, who wanted an alternative to the inequities African Americans experienced at many cemeteries where visiting families and funeral processions were often relegated to the side gates and the deceased were buried in the least desirable plots. He wanted a cemetery for African Americans offering the same services and facilities to everyone. He enlisted the support of professionals who shared this vision. He partnered with Benjamin Diamond, a successful businessman, and Frederick A. Bunn, an attorney with the nearby Ocean View Cemetery. And the first board of directors included prominent Harlem citizens, fellow funeral directors and ministers, including the highly influential Adam Clayton Powell Sr., pastor of the well-known Abyssinian Baptist Church. Next slide. Frederick Douglass Memorial Park opened with its first burials on June 10th in 1935. It incorporated the latest engineering and landscape design features in a park-like setting, designed with extensive watering and drainage systems, and as a convenience to the Harlem neighborhood, the administrative offices were located on 125th Street. Next slide. Frederick Douglass Memorial Park was designed by New Jersey civil engineer James Wallace Higgins, with a focus on the beauty and tranquility of the open countryside. Most of the stone markers are laid flat on the ground to highlight this overall park-like setting. From the time of its founding, the park reserved a prominent location for a monument to Frederick Douglass near the entrance. Sculptor Angus McDougall created an 8-foot-tall granite monument that was unveiled by Hortense Jones, president of the Cemetery Board, and Ruth Whaley, secretary of the city's Board of Estimate, on May 28, 1961, and that can be seen here on the right hand of this slide. Next slide. In addition to the thousands of everyday people who have been buried in the cemetery, there are several notable celebrities worth mentioning. Jazz singer Mamie Smith, known as the Queen of the Blues and a pioneer who paved the way for others during the Harlem Renaissance. Tommy Ladnier, an accomplished jazz trumpeter during the 20s and 30s who performed locally within Harlem but also toured abroad in Europe. And then Saul White, who's considered one of the founding fathers of black baseball, who also played on white and black teams but also wrote The History of Colored Baseball in 1907. Both Saul White and the outfielder Elias Brown, seen on the far right of this slide, is also buried at the cemetery, and they were both inducted in the Negro Baseball Hall of Fame. Next slide. The cemetery's office building is located along the north edge of the property. It was completed in stages between 1947 and 1961. The tower and two-story section to the left, originally designed for a small chapel and a caretaker's apartment, was completed by James Whitford Jr., a prolific Staten Island architect. Next slide. Despite recent alterations to the office building and a replacement front entrance gate to the park, the landmark retains its original acreage, its overall design, and reflects its founder's original vision. The Frederick Douglass Memorial Park on Staten Island is a historically significant cemetery established for and by African Americans. Since 1935, it has continued to serve the community with the same mission for almost a century. And thank you. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I actually do have a statement I would like to read because this is very important to me, and I just want to thank the Landmarks Preservation Commission on the handling of this and how wonderful it is for us in Staten Island to have this landmarked. So as the chair of Landmarks and Public Sightings and Disposition Committee, I'm filled with a sense of pride and history today as we consider designating Frederick Douglass Memorial Park as a New York City landmark. Frederick Douglass Memorial Park is more than just a cemetery. It is a profound testament to the enduring spirit and historical significance of New York City's African American community. Founded in 1933 by Rodney Dade, a Harlem funeral director, alongside partners Benjamin Diamond and Frederick A. Bunn, the park was created to offer a dignified final resting place for African Americans, free from the discrimination prevalent in other cemeteries. Over the decades, this 14-acre memorial park has become the eternal home for many prominent African Americans, including jazz and blues singer Mamie Smith, jazz trumpeter Tommy Ladner, and the professional baseball player Saul White. This memorial park serves as a reminder of the struggles and achievements African Americans in New York City and provides a sacred space for families to honor their ancestors. As we consider the landmark status for Frederick Douglass Memorial Park, we acknowledge the importance of preserving our city's diverse history, and with this designation, we will not only protect the physical integrity of the park, we will also ensure that future generations will recognize and honor the contributions of African Americans in our city's rich history. A landmark status will provide necessary support and resources to maintain and enhance the park, allowing it to continue as a place of reflection, remembrance, and celebration of African American heritage. So I urge my colleagues to support the Landmark Preservation Commission's designation of the Frederick Douglass Memorial Park as a New York City landmark. This recognition is long overdue and will solidify the park in the city's history. Thank you so much. So I think I think that I have to dismiss this. I apologize. Are there any members of the public wishing to testify on Land Use 131 landmarking of Frederick Douglass Memorial Park?
No.
With that said, the public hearing is now closed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So many papers. That concludes today's business. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues in the subcommittee, council, land use staff, and of course the Sergeant at Arms for your participation today. This meeting is hereby adjourned.